Thank you for listening to these free chapters and allowing me to introduce you to my story. Letting go of the past is never easy, but having a strong support system makes all the difference. I pray you have that too. One thing I know for certain, God never leaves us alone. Even when those we hold dear aren't there, He reminds us that He is. And in this book you'll see that truth woven throughout the story. Now let's continue. Chapter 3. Such gentle eyes, and that smile. Who could stay mad at someone with such a smile? Gabriella pondered the entire ride back to the restaurant's car park. She was so lost in her thought, everything else seemed distant. Gabriella. Gabriella. Sophia called. No response. Sophia gently tapped her on the shoulder, bringing her out of her daze. Gabriella. Sophia repeated softly this time. Let's go. Gabriella watched as Sophia exited the car and stepped aside, allowing Vincent to reach inside to help her get out. Grazie, she told Vincent after he carried her to Sophia's car and sat her onto the passenger's seat. She did not know what else to say, knowing very little of the language as thoughts of him riddled her mind. After she and Sophia said their goodbyes to Vincent, John and the other friend whose car had driven them to the car park, they went home. Gabriella crawled onto the bed and allowed Sophia to place a bandage on her knee while she waited for the painkillers to kick in. You couldn't help yourself, could you? She snapped at Sophia. What? Sophia innocently replied. Tonight was supposed to be about us. You flirted with that guy, completely disregarding the fact that I was in serious pain. You're right, I'm sorry. Gabriella let out a breath. I'm sorry for snapping at you too. Sophia's lips curled into a smile at Gabriella's remark. But honestly, Gabby, wasn't all three guys gorgeous? Her eyes danced with excitement. Gabriella smiled. Yes, they were. You can't blame me too much for showing interest in John, especially if he is also interested in me. We are not getting any younger. I want to fall in love and get married and be happy like Mom and Dad. I want to fall in love, get married and be happy like your parents too, Sophia. But for me, it's not just about physical attributes when I meet a guy. I need someone I connect with on a spiritual level as well. God must come first in both our lives. You and I are only 25. We have time to figure things out. Gabby, I know that good character is important too. I want it in a guy that is also gorgeous, and I do believe they exist. Sophia smirked. Gabriella laughed. And what are you laughing at? I saw you drooling over that guy in the pickup. Didn't think I noticed, did you? Sophia added. I was not drooling, she defended. He felt so familiar to me, and besides, I doubt I'll ever see him again. Only fate could bring us together. Gabriella winced as she tried to move her wrist. Sophia, I think I might have sprained my wrist. Do you have a compression wrap in your kit? I have everything in this kit. The result of growing up clumsy, she teased and laughed. Let me clean up your elbow first, then I will wrap your wrist, okay? All right, Gabriella said, stretching her arm to Sophia. As Gabriella lay in bed after Sophia left, she hoped the pain would subside by Saturday morning, which was only a day away. They planned to take the train to Rome to visit Sophia's parents. Soon enough, her thoughts shifted to him, and as she closed her eyes, she kept seeing those eyes and that smile. Saturday morning arrived. Gabriella was pleased that her knee and elbow felt much better. Although her wrist was still sore, she refused to let it rob her of enjoying her plans with Sophia's parents, Rosa and Dominique. They left the house at about 7 a.m., after enjoying a light breakfast of buttered toast and hot chocolate. The girls arrived at the train station at about 7:30 a.m. to catch the 8 a.m. train, which took nearly 3 hours to get to Rome. They took a cab to the house on the Via dei Fori Imperiali. It was the road in the center of Rome, one of which lies in a straight line from the Piazza Venezia to the Colosseum. The Colosseum was one of their favorite places to visit while in Rome. As the cab drove into the house's driveway, they heard footsteps approaching. It was Rosa and Dominique. After paying the taxi driver and exiting the cab, the girls rushed straight into their arms. Oh, Gabriella, Rosa said, throwing her arms around her, we're so happy you're finally here. We've been so worried about you being all alone in Jamaica after we left. Dominique pulled her into his arms the minute Rosa released her. He kissed her cheek and cupped her face into his hands as he said, "My dear child, I have missed you. I have missed you both too," Gabriella expressed with a big smile. "What, no one missed me?" Sophia teased and chuckled before they pulled her into a group hug. "Let's go inside," Dominique said, ushering them towards the house. As soon as they entered the house, Rosa asked, "What do you girls want to drink?" "A tall glass of ice-cold orange juice," Sophia answered, happy to be inside the house. "And a glass of ice water for me," Gabriella added, fanning herself with her hands. Sitting in the living room, they talked about the good times they spent together, and the girls talked about their train ride coming over. "Mom, Dad, we seem to attract men everywhere we go. We are not dressing sexy or slutty to attract them either. You know how we dress," Sophia bragged with amusement in her voice. "Well, you two girls are beautiful. I would think of it as strange if men did not find you both attractive," Dominique answered as his wife agreed. Gabriella smiled and added, "Even yesterday 2 men came to our rescue." "Rescue? What happened?" Rosa interrupted. "Clumsy Gabby twisted her ankle as we crossed the street, fell and pulled me down with her," Sophia teased Gabriella. Gabriella glared at Sophia. "Did you girls get hurt?" Dominique asked. "Not me, clumsy Gabby," Sophia smirked. "Sophia, my wrist really hurt, do not tease about that." "I don't want to be mad at you today," Gabriella warned. "Oh, never mind Sophia, she can't help herself with that mouth of hers," said Rosa. "Oh, sweetheart, we were so excited to see you we hadn't noticed your wrist. Is it broken?" Rosa asked. "No, a little sore," Gabriella told them, lifting her arm for them to inspect it. "Should be okay in a couple of days. I had it wrapped the other night but it felt too uncomfortable so I removed it. Anyway, this morning on the train Gabby and I were singing and dancing to a Jorge Bozero song. 2 guys from another compartment came to our door and stood there watching us," Sophia blurted out, desperately drawing attention to herself. "We noticed them because we heard their chuckling. They also asked to sit with us for a while." "Imagine that," said Sophia. "It's true they did," Gabriella said, picking up from where Sophia left off, "and would not leave when we told them no. However, they turned out to be decent men, although they flirted with us. When I refused to show interest in the man who sat beside me, he left and I had a nap. I can only imagine what Sophia did with the other guy while I was sleeping," she concluded, curiously glancing at Sophia. "Wouldn't you like to know?" Sophia taunted. "You're so much like your father once was," Rosa said to Sophia, eyeing Dominique. "What, Dad couldn't pass up on a beautiful face either?" she asked, giggling. "His eyes averted a few times before, but I wasn't giving him up without a fight. So I put on the old charm and pulled him right back," Rosa dramatically replied, resulting in the laughter of the group. "Mum, I would have never thought you'd share that with us while Dad was in the room," said Sophia. "Neither would I," Gabriella added. Rosa looked at her husband and smiled. He smiled back at her. "Well, you both need to know, and you, Sophia, will have to grow up one day. And when you do, you'll know that no one is perfect and we can't let these things negatively influence us." "Rosa is right," Dominique added. "I fell in love with your mum the moment she started as the new accountant at the hotel. She needed help with her Italian, and with me being the engineer, time did not allow me to see her much, but I made sure I found time every day to win her over." "I don't get what you're saying, Dad," Sophia interrupted. "Well, if you give me a chance you will," he answered and laughed. "Anyways, my point is this. After tirelessly pursuing your mum and marrying her, my eyes still wandered. That did not mean I did not love her. Your mum put up with it all without becoming aggressive about it. She instead prayed for guidance. She asked the Lord to break whatever came over me. The Lord filled her with romantic notions that have kept my eyes only on her," he concluded before kissing his wife. "So romantic," Gabriella remarked. "Come on you two. Let's get lunch, then you can later go down to the Coliseum. I know how much you love visiting it," Rosa said. After lunch, Gabriella and Sophia rode with a family friend towards the Coliseum, armed with their cameras in hand. "Sophia, do you remember the first time we visited here? Wasn't it exciting to be where they created so much history?" Gabriella drifted off into her little world. "It was exciting, but for me it was more about being where the actual gladiators fought. Not for the boring parts you find so fascinating," Sophia responded. "What's wrong with learning about the slaves who built it or how they assign seating to people according to class? I bet you did not know that women had to sit at the top of the stadium, given they considered women the lowest class, unable to get a good view of the event. May have been for the best anyway, considering how gruesome the fights were. It amazes me how we get along so well, considering we have such different tastes, Sophia pondered. I guess it's the music and dancing that connects us, Gabriella chuckled, thinking there were no two people more bonded by music than they were. Gabby, do you want to know what happened on the train this morning? Sophia asked, her face washed with mischief. Gabriella anxiously replied, tell me, hidden behind a nonchalant smile. Well, I scooted over next to him and kept smiling as he spoke. Then I pulled my hair back over my shoulder, exposing my neck to him, and watched him stare in excitement. Made me giggle, Sophia shared. I knew it. You couldn't resist, could you? You can't have them all, you know. Gabriella snickered as she walked away from Sophia. Gabriella asked a young man to take their photo. She laughed at herself and made the man laugh as she realized she did not know how to ask in Italian. Sophia, ask this handsome young man to take our photo, and for Pete's sake, please do not flirt with him. Sophia giggled and swung her hips from side to side as she walked towards them both, causing Gabriella to roll her eyes. The young man stared with excitement. She spoke very softly to him and he got into position to take the picture. After they posed for the camera, they thanked the young man. He was noticeably reluctant to leave until he got a phone number. Sophia obliged him and he walked off with a smile. Ouch. Sophia squealed when Gabriella struck her shoulder. What was that for? As if you don't know. Gabriella pulled on Sophia's arm with her good wrist. Come on, she smiled. Doesn't it feel wonderful being here together like this again? It sure does, Gabby, Sophia answered as they walked away from the Colosseum. And, Gabby, I flirt to feel men out. You know I have good instincts. I will choose someone you'll love, she whispered in Gabriella's ear. Gabriella smiled. They left the Colosseum and headed to the Monumento Nazionale of Vittorio Emanuele Museum, where the first king of Italy lived. They ended the day at the Spanish Steps and took more pictures before hailing a cab back to the house. Hot and exhausted by the time they arrived at the house, they bathed before having dinner with Rosa and Dominique. After they said goodnight, Sophia jumped on the bed next to Gabriella. Gabby, I think it's time you stop calling my parents by their first names and call them Mom and Dad. You do? Why? I could see the pain on their faces when you addressed them by their first names. Don't you know how much they love you? You're not only my best friend to them, you know. I keep telling you they love you as much as they love me, and I do not feel jealous about that. Will you do it for me, please? Sophia pleaded. Alright, do you know if they have gone to bed already? I want to talk to them. Sophia replied, they're in the living room watching their favorite show. Okay, I'm going to talk with them. Be back in a bit. Gabriella scooted off the bed. Go right ahead, but I'll be asleep when you get back. Good night then. Night, Gabby. A broad smile spread across Gabriella's face as she walked into the living room. Rosa and Dominique cozily sat next to each other on the couch with their eyes fixed on the television set. Gabriella took a deep breath and walked over to the sofa. She sat next to Rosa as they diverted their attention to her. Can I talk to you both for a few minutes? She asked. Sure, Gabriella. Rosa reached for her hand. Dominique nodded in agreement. I love you both so much. I thanked you for coming back to Jamaica when Mom and Dad died in that accident, for taking care of all the funeral costs and arrangements, not to mention funding my last year in the university in Jamaica. She took another deep breath. I told you the overwhelming amount of paperwork was the reason I refused your invitation to transfer to the university in Italy. That was not the truth. I know you worried about me being alone, but I was more scared to leave, thinking that I would soon forget Mom and Dad. Her voice broke. Dominique scooted over and patted the space he occupied. Come sit here, child, he said. Gabriella stood and went to sit between him and Rosa, and each held one of her hands. We knew you would feel that way, but we wanted you to know you could come here if it came to be too much, Rosa said. Staring into Rosa's eyes, Gabriella's lips quivered as tears rolled down her cheeks. I wanted to see if Sam would come back home too, her heart pounded. I've waited 4 years for his return and he never came. Don't lose hope. He might still be alive. Have faith that God is watching over him and that you will see him again, Dominique said. I do have faith. God continues to give me that hope, but fear still creeps in at times when it's been so long. I know. We'll keep praying too, Rosa added. Thank you, I'm going to bed now. I'll see you in the morning. All right, Gabriella. Rosa gave her a quick hug. Gabriella turned to Dominique and hugged him. The next morning, Gabriella greeted Rosa and Dominique with a kiss on their cheeks. Morning, Mum. Morning, Dad, she smiled, leaving them happily stunned. After breakfast they all went to church. Rosa introduced Gabriella to her friends, some of which Gabriella remembered from her last visit. It felt good to see their faces again. When they returned home they spent a few hours by the pool and enjoyed the beautiful day. Rosa and Dominique were fit for their age. They made the girls realize how much they both needed to exercise. Gabriella followed Rosa into the kitchen to help prepare the evening meal, leaving Sophia and her dad chatting away by the pool. She enjoyed every moment she spent with Rosa. She felt so much of what she had with her mum. I love you, Mum. She tipped on her toes and kissed Rosa on the cheek, almost bringing tears to Rosa's eyes. Rosa, overwhelmed with joy by Gabriella's kiss, pulled her into a warm embrace and uttered, I love you too. Dinner was more festive, filled with more laughter than at the poolside. Dominique told them of some silly persons he worked with at the hotel, making sure to include the hotel's crazy guest stories. After dinner they went to the opera. Much to Gabriella's delight, they had noticed how fascinated she had been the first time they went. Sophia, not fond of the opera, made fun of the performers, causing Gabriella to frown at her. All right. I'll have a nap and let you enjoy the show, Sophia grunted. That, I can live with, Gabriella said, hoping Sophia stuck to her words. Sophia smirked, shook her head and turned her back to Gabriella as she laid her head against the seat and closed her eyes. Later after the show, Rosa and Dominique dropped the girls off at the train station to catch the night train back to Milan. We'll call you when we get home, Gabriella told them after she and Sophia hugged and kissed them. Rosa and Dominique watched them get on the train and waved until the train had exited the station. This time the train ride was quiet and gave the girls time to rest. Gabriella called Rosa after they got home to let her know they arrived safely. She and Sophia snuggled up on the sofa to watch a late film. Are you ready to see Milan? I have so much to show you, Sophia asked as Gabriella switched on the television. Yeah, definitely. How about this Saturday? Sophia enthusiastically asked. This Saturday, isn't that the day of Jorge Bozero's concert? Yes, but the concert is at 8 p.m. We can do so much before that and get home to shower and change. Gabriella thought for a moment. All right, she nodded. We have to get up early though. I don't want to rush anything. Good idea. 7 a.m. is an appropriate time for us to get ready and be at the first place a couple of minutes before it opens. Gabriella asked, where are we going first? Not telling. I'll only tell you it opens at 9 a.m. Mysterious, are we? By 9 a.m. it is. Now let's finish this film and go to bed. This is where I must say goodbye for now. I've loved sharing these free chapters with you, but this is only the beginning of my story. I hope you'll continue this journey with me and see how God transformed my life, just as He can transform yours. What do you say? Will you take a leap of faith and trust that God brought this story to you for a reason? If He could use a donkey to rebuke a prophet, don't dismiss the idea that He can speak to you through Christian fiction. After all, even Jesus used parables to reveal truth. You can get your own paperback or ebook copy through the links in the description. Your support helps bring more uplifting stories to life. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone who might need it.